We can after. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to, I can't believe it's part 3 of Effective Marketing Strategies for Small and Mid-sized Law Firms with Chris Fritsch and Stefanie Marrone. There are tips here, not just for small and mid-sized law firms, as I hope you have already discovered. We'll be covering some other things. Hopefully you've been here for part 1 and part 2. If not, you can catch them on either of our YouTube channels or reach out to us, but let's dive in.
Trilogy though, Stefanie, this one's the trilogy.
Oh, so this is part 3 of our session. And, you know, listen, there've only been a couple of successful trilogies, Chris. I went back and looked actually. So of course, this was not meant to be like, 8 or 9 movies. In the beginning, which is the year I was born, was when the original Star Wars came out. It's actually not the first. I guess these are, in my opinion, the 3 best. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, you guys can agree with me, disagree. This was the original trilogy. There's also other trilogies like Back to the Future. Each one got worse. Hopefully that's not the case with this webinar. Scream 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to say Scream 1 was the best. Tell me if you guys agree, disagree. I actually think the best, I don't know. I really liked all 3 of these Star Wars movies, but I really liked The Empire Strikes Back. But I liked all 3 of our webinars, although we haven't given this one today. But I think we're a trilogy, but we could keep going just like Star Wars did.
Yeah,
right?
Did they start with episode 4? Maybe we've got 3 more. Who knows?
Maybe.
We'll
right.
We'll have to survey the audience and see what questions we haven't answered and see if they want us to do another one.
There you go. So speaking of Chris, tell us about you, Chris.
Yeah, I am actually a CRM success consultant. No, that is not an oxymoron. We have worked with several hundred firms over the past 15 years to help them successfully select and implement CRM and related and integrated technology. And then we have an entire team of internal data stewards and automated data quality resources that we use to make sure that they have clean, correct, and complete data so they can do what they need to do around communications, invitations, and business development. How about you?
All right. Well, I am Stefanie Marrone, and some people have called me the social media butterfly. I'm actually going to talk quite a bit about LinkedIn today because it's my favorite topic, and I think that's where we need to be. And I was talking about LinkedIn and social media long before a lot of firms thought it was something worthwhile. I've been working in law firms for 20 plus years. Hard to believe because of how young I look, Chris, right? But a little Botox will go a long way. I worked at a number of big law firms, including Paul Weiss, Sullivan and Cromwell, Mayer Brown, Morrison and Forster, Proskauer, and then I was the CMO of Tarter Krinsky and Drogan. And now I'm outsourced chief marketing officer to a number of law firms, and I do social media content marketing strategy for other law firms and legal service providers. So that puts us, I think, in a good position to do the in-house marketer perspective, and then you from the consultant perspective, but I also can provide that lens as well.
And I'm also a recovering attorney, so I can give you that perspective if it's
All right, Chris. So what kind of trends are we seeing out there?
We always sort of start off with an introduction of the trends that we're seeing. And as they apply to, we've got a lot of folks on here from smaller and mid-sized firms, but also from larger firms as well. So, we'll give you a little bit of perspective from both worlds. But we're going to talk more about things today like data. We're going to talk about alumni and the importance of alumni programs. We're going to talk about the importance of content marketing. And we're going to end with some free resources like we like to do because we want to provide value. So let's jump in.
All right.
Well, so we've talked about in previous episodes, in 1 and 2, the sequel, and now the trilogy, smaller and mid-sized departments have to struggle with some challenges that the big firms don't. They definitely have some benefits, but they also have some challenges as well in terms of limited time and budgets and smaller staffs. And more manual systems and processes is what we're going to talk about this time, and problems with data. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I call it the dirty data deluge. You can hit the next slide, Stefanie. So, you know, a lot of these pundits that you read will tell you 30% of your data degrades each year without attention. You know, your entire database tends to be a mess in about 3 years or less. But now this is a Chris statistic. I will tell you, it's got to be closer to half. You know, with the Great Resignation, people working from home and hybrid and changing jobs, and there's just no way to get in touch with people. And a lot of people found this out, and they continue to find this out because we're still in a hybrid marketing and BD environment. We're not back to 100% in person, although, you know, I'm very excited. Again, we're going to have the social in New York. Can't wait. We've got a few more conferences, but still we're doing some hybrid. And so if you have a bad list, you can't connect with your key audiences, and you can't ultimately develop business. It makes it very challenging. And this is because, you know, people move and relocate, and you know, jobs change, companies open and close and get acquired, and you've got to keep up with this data. It requires a lot of different processes that we'll talk about. But if you have bad data, you can't target the right audiences. But not only that, nobody wants to use your CRM system. I can tell you as an attorney, if the data is bad, the system is bad, and I won't use it. So, and, you know, all of this wastes a lot of time, and we don't, I think any of us there, if anybody actually is experiencing the summer slowdown, please do let me know, because I think it was just a mean joke that people played on this, because things are not slowing down here at all.
Yeah, me either. And
Right?
for many people, the summer is like over. Kids are going back to school already. So yeah. Do you know today's the last 8 p.m. sunset until spring next year?
Says the girl at the beach. Anyway, let's go to the next slide.
All right.
It's raining here where I am. So how are smaller and mid-sized firms, and even a lot of the bigger firms, managing data right now? You know, I love this image. I always feel like, you know, we're buried in piles of paper, you know, documents. We've got proposals and pitches that are electronic, but also printed out. You know, I know a lawyer very well who just said, I've got to go to the office because I have to print out, you know, the 200-page document so that I can read it. I was just like, face palm plant. You know, we've got data everywhere, disconnected data in systems in the firm financial system. They're in Word documents, and oh, the beloved spreadsheet. You know, I've worked with so many firms where, you know, we're evaluating their CRM and we get into 10 different topics like, well, okay, where is this? Where are your business development activities? Where are your business development opportunities? Spreadsheets, your mailing list, spreadsheets. They're everywhere. And if you've got all this disconnected data, it's a huge problem. You go to the next slide. And the beauty of this is we're going to talk a little bit about marketing technology tools. And if you haven't seen the other 2 webinars, we will send you a link to those. We get in depth on things like CRM and ERM. We'll talk a little bit more today about eMarketing systems, and then one that we haven't really talked much about, business development pipelines. But this is going to get you out of the piles of paper. It does cause additional problems, though, in terms of bad data. So yeah, Stefanie, you were thinking ahead. Well done. Mm-hmm. We end up in so many different systems with so much data, and there is no magic bullet for data. You have really got to focus on it. We have so many firms now, we mentioned this previously, that are changing CRM systems or looking to change CRM systems. And so now we've had to put together this plan called for data migration preparation, to figure out, you don't want to move all that data. You don't want to spend the money to clean all that data. So you've got to be strategic. And so what we're typically recommending is, the first thing you've got to do is assess the mess, because if you don't, you're going to end up with a data cleaning project that takes longer and costs a lot more than you expected to or wanted to. And you're also going to have a lot of data to migrate, which you don't maybe necessarily want to do. The next thing we recommend, we actually have this process we call True DQ, and it lets you go through different steps in the process and stop whenever you feel like the data is the quality that you need it to be. So help you figure out, where is all this data? How do we bring it together, identify which are the most important data sets, get only that data, combine it, deduplicate it, clean it, starting with an automated system, because that's the fastest way to clean up data. It's the least expensive way. Unfortunately, it's not a perfect way. In a law firm, outside of a law firm, data services will say, oh, we can get you 70% good data. Well, I'm sorry, 70% of your data in a law firm will get you fired, right? So you can only do so much. So you can stop at that point, or you can then move on and then do human data stewarding to get that data really good, and of the quality that most of our firms require. And then to also append missing data. People now, we didn't used to care about addresses. Well, now we do, because GDPR, because compliance with privacy laws. So you've got to now think about addresses. When people are dealing with webinars and you're having to send packets out, now we need home addresses. We never thought we'd need that kind of information. And so to keep up with it is next to impossible, but you've got to dedicate resources to it. And again, we talked in the last session that we did about the benefits of outsourcing and why outsourcing is really just exploding now. Frankly, we're not in law firms. We're not in the data stewarding business. That is not what we do. We are in the legal services and the client taking care of business, right? Client service. And so outsourcing is a good option to get that out to some lower expense professionals who do this for a living and actually don't hate it, which most people do. So there's no magic bullet. So figure out where's your data, analyze it, put together a strategy, what is the scope of it and what is the cost of it going to be, so that you can make it budgetable, predictable, because you've got to invest in the data. Because if you've invested a lot of money, I was on the phone with a firm yesterday and they're like, we've invested all this money in this system. You want me to go back to the managing partner now and say, we need another, several $1,000s to clean the data? And I said, well, you could just let him look at how bad it is when he gets into it, and you're going to have wasted your entire CRM investment. And it just, that's sort of eye-opening. But start now. If you're moving data, if you're getting a new system, if you're moving systems, you need to prepare your data at least a few months. A big firm, maybe 3 to 6 months in advance of the project, because it can take that long. And that's before you bring in the new data from the attorneys. So that's that. Next slide, Steph. And the other thing to really talk about that we wanted to highlight today, and it dovetails a little bit into what Stefanie's going to talk about. Just don't ever forget the importance of content marketing while we're hybrid and even after. Email, it's annoying sometimes. There's so much of it. I'll clear 200 out. I get up the next morning and where did they come from? It's like they've all reappeared, right? There's 333 billion emails sent a day, which is why we all feel like we're drowning, because we are. But the reason that 9 out of 10 marketers use email for content marketing is the return on it is, for every dollar spent, is an average of $42 returned. But that's if you're good at it. So you've got to be really good and thoughtful about your content marketing. If you do, though, in a smaller and mid-sized firm, it can level the playing field. Lots and lots of individuals are doing a really good job with content on blogs and on email marketing and being picked up on JD Super with their amazing distribution network, that these firms are competing with some of the biggest firms in the world and doing a great job. And, nobody even thinks about what size they are. So.
A great point, Chris. You don't have to be a household name producing content every few hours to make a big impact.
Right. Indeed. And speaking of impact, I'm a big believer, because I'm busy, right? I'm a big believer. I used to call this the circle of law. This is like, what do you do with a piece of content? And I think you have taught me more about this than probably anyone, Stefanie. One piece of content is not one piece of content. It's all these different things that you see here, right? So, you can do a presentation. When we do these webinars, we send emails after with the recordings. We put the videos on YouTube. We create podcasts. We take the transcript that automatically is created in YouTube. We'll make multiple articles out of it. We'll add them to the distribution list. We'll post this information on our bios. We'll link to it on LinkedIn. We'll do multiple LinkedIn posts about it. It gets picked up by JD Super. And then, so this is one of the ways to sell this to your attorneys. This costs them next to nothing. And just by spending a little bit of time to do one thing, they get all this additional content and benefit out of it.
It's amazing. I love this. I talk about about how you can get like 9 posts out of one piece of content. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but especially for us where you have less content. And let me tell you something, big firms have too much content that they can't do this. We are in a better position. So this is something you can really leverage, and every darn webinar that you're putting on, every video, you can get the transcript. And Chris taught me something that I now tell everybody about, which is the trick about getting a free transcript on YouTube. Does everybody know how to do that? And if not, we need to teach you guys how to do that. When you post a video on YouTube, if you click the 3 little dots on the right-hand side, this is a Chris Fritsch little trick. You can see the transcript, then remove the timestamp, and then click the whole darn thing, and you've got yourself a transcript without having to pay.
Didn't you write a LinkedIn post about this?
Yeah, because
we'll send you that in the follow-up email.
But I'm telling you, I didn't know about that. Did anybody know about that? But if you don't want to spend the money on a transcription service, you can do this.
And it's not perfect. You do have to spend a little time going through it, but it's immediate and free.
Yes. Oh, there
again. This costs you how much?
Nothing. Look at that. Okay.
All right. The one other piece that I will sort of talk briefly about is pipelines. These I'm living and breathing this right now. So because we are actually redeveloping our pipeline, moving it from one tool into another tool. And it's a really good sort of cathartic opportunity to look through and figure out how many things that we didn't do that we tell people we should do. Like we have opportunities that haven't been closed out sitting there since 2020 that, we got to get that one out of there. But it's really important. A lot of firms are just not there yet. If you are, amazing. I'd love to hear about it. If you're actually
let us know. Are any of you tracking your business development activities, or are you doing it, even if you're doing it in a spreadsheet? Great.
That's a start. Yeah.
It's a start.
That's a start. But ultimately the goal is, we're not in sales world yet. Our company is, but most of the firms are not. So we're kind of trying to help them by coaching them on how to set a real pipeline up to capture things, not just, in a spreadsheet, but, what are your stages? We have multiple stages. We have one, I'm an optimist, so mine never says lost. It says not right now, because we've had lots of customers and clients that we've wanted to work with, and it took one time 12 years. So, I am an optimist about that sort of thing. But what should your stages be? And are you able to track them? And what are the activities that are related? Sometimes this begins just in the marketing and BD department when they're going to track pitches and RFPs that they are involved with. And again, if you're going to do a pipeline, it's not going to be the lawyers inputting this information. I'm sorry, it's probably not going to be them in my experience, and haven't done this for way too long. But it's going to be some really effective, smart business developers who are dedicated to help them get the information in, and more important, get the reports out so we can act on it. And in a perfect world, in a dream world, there'd be some accountability. And I think someday we'll get there. And
can I say, like, one of my clients did what I think is the smartest thing. He didn't get the business and he asked why. Wow. And to me, this is one of the things that most lawyers are the most afraid of, because they don't want to know why they didn't get it, but it can be the most valuable piece of information that you ever find out. And it turned out, by the way, Chris, that it was because he didn't bring more people to the meeting who would actually be doing the work. It was just him. That was one of the reasons. And he also didn't live in the county where the work would be done. It was the rates also. So, you never know, but wouldn't you want to know? And maybe you won't get the full answer, but if I have the opportunity to find out why I didn't get the piece of the work, I'm going to I think I'd be better for it. So if they don't want to know necessarily, then maybe you can do it for them. But I think it's a very valuable piece of information to have, and it will help you become better at what you do.
I actually had an attorney I worked with who went one step further and asked, in addition, when she didn't get the work, she asked when she did get the work. And it really helped her understand. And it came down to, it's the little things that you don't think about. But the first person she talked to said, I don't know, you just seemed like you got us. And another one was like, I don't know, everybody we talked to was great, but you seemed like you'd be good to work with. Almost every time it came down to that personal connection. It wasn't the rates. It wasn't, everybody pitching for the business had, the requisite knowledge and expertise, but it was that personal connection. And she learned that that was an important thing.
And that's a really important point as well, which is that, so much of business is personal connections. And it's so much about, do I like you? Do I want to work with you? Will you advocate for me? Are you someone who will make me look good? Can I trust you? Will you make me feel important? And it's not so much about the name on the door. So I don't think we have to worry as much about work going to Cravath anymore because it's Cravath, as much as, people aren't looking at the chambers rankings and God forbid, I just, like, my last weeks have been ruined with chamber submissions, and everyone, I think if you follow me on LinkedIn, you know how I feel about those rankings, especially super lawyers, in terms of like whether they're actually worth doing. It's a lot about relationships. So I think that can very much help, especially these folks, at smaller mid-sized law firms. So great point. And to the extent that you can be helpful as the conduit or as that bridge between the lawyers and the clients, if they don't want to ask those hard questions, you can. And I see that question in here about what's the best approach to asking a potential client why you did not get the work. I think it's simply that, it depends. If there's a panel, there's a more formal process, right? If there's not, and you have a relationship, it's simply asking, listen, it would be really helpful to find out from you, why you went with X firm, and actually finding out which firm they went with would also be helpful information. And just maybe asking them, to have a phone call with you or a Zoom or meet up with you in person. I think just in the same way why you didn't get a job, which more people are inclined not to tell you because of, employment law rules. This is a little different. We can talk about that a little bit more in a bit.
Great.
All right. Oh, Deb was talking about me. It was nothing you did. Don't worry.
Oh.
All right. Let's just keep going. All right. So let's talk about it being August. So August, did you guys know that Christmas is like almost here, the holidays, Hanukkah, the New Year? It's also time to think about your holiday card, updating your lists, your CRM for the holiday. I hate to break it to you, but before you know it, it's going to be 2023. It's also time to think about all of these things, such as your website bio, updating that, which you should have done several times already this year. Your representative matters because you probably have worked on your chamber submissions. And by the way, a lot of smaller firms will say to me, is it worth doing chambers? Probably not, but sometimes if you have a strong niche practice, or if you're a mid-sized firm that has national coverage, or again, don't submit in national categories, submit in your city, your specific. So if you are strong in Connecticut intellectual property, submit there. Don't submit nationwide intellectual property. You don't stand a chance. So be aware of where you make sense for your strengths to actually propel you forward. But use these different things to your advantage. And if you haven't been updating your LinkedIn profile, you haven't been listening to anything that I've said, but August is the best time of year you can do all these things. And I want to talk about some of the other things you could be doing right now that will make you a superstar. So if we have some attorneys on here, great. If you are the one coaching the attorneys, great. If you want to do some of these things yourself, I think there's something for everybody here. So let's talk about them. Everybody here should have a Google alert set up for themselves. And a Google alert is really important because it helps you manage your professional brand. And it helps you know what's being said about you. If your name is Jim Smith, that is not necessarily very helpful because you'll get a lot of generic results. But there are ways to cull through those things so that it becomes a little more specific. Also, you should set up a Google alert for top clients and prospects because information is power. Information gives you reasons to reach out to somebody other than just, hey, Jim, checking in with you. Because nobody likes the, hey, Jim, checking in with you on that proposal or checking in with you to see, how you're doing. You can then have a reason, oh, hey, I saw you close that, big deal or whatever it is. So I would suggest you do this. Google alerts are free to set up and they're very useful in terms of information. So I have a business development template that I'm happy to send anybody who sends me a message on LinkedIn because I want you guys to use LinkedIn. And it's a short little template with 3 things that are actually actionable and achievable because goals don't make sense if they're not. If you want it, I'm happy to give it to you. And that is something I would encourage you to do for the rest of the year. I'd also suggest reconnecting with former clients and key referrals, writing an alert, a blog post, an article, or maybe all 3 of these. And if that seems insurmountable, buddy up with a colleague, buddy up with an industry referral source, or maybe a client. Learning how to use LinkedIn and building your network is going to be really important. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Reviewing analytics of your blog posts or client alerts is so important because if you're just creating content that lawyers send you without being strategic about why you're doing this, and this goes into what Chris said about email marketing, you're not being strategic. A lot of us get alerts from lawyers that suck. And that's a whole other program that I give about how to write good alerts. It's about, so I can do another program about that, but it's about good headlines, the way it's structured, short paragraphs, a good opening sentence, subheadings, but it's also about feeding information back to the lawyers about alerts and how well they've done. Are you doing that? Are you looking at your email marketing metrics and telling the lawyers whether they did well? Are you looking at the open rates? Are you reconciling your bounce backs? All of those things. If you don't have the time to do it, you can outsource that sort of thing to companies like Chris's company that I use myself for some of my clients. So there's things you can do like that. Like I said, updating your bio and your LinkedIn profile is so important. Getting involved in alumni associations. And I have something down here, I'll just talk about it right now, but getting involved in bar associations, industry committees, these are ways to network, meet people who could be clients, friends who could refer business to you, right? We talked about how it's all about relationships. People want to work with people who they know. We're at a little bit of a disadvantage when people, the firm isn't a household name. Oh, what's Marrone and Fritsch? Oh, okay, never heard of them. I'm going to go Google them.
How have you never heard of us?
Right? Which is why, again, you got to have, I talked about this on our last session, why you never want to let your website get to a crisis and why you want good SEO, because I'm going to go Google you and go to your LinkedIn profile as the next things I do when I hear your name. So those things cannot be bad either. LinkedIn groups need to be also something you consider in terms of where you promote your webinars and articles. So I promoted this webinar in key LinkedIn groups yesterday, and we got, I think, 15 or 20 more signups as a direct result because I track through UTM links. I don't know if you guys use UTM links, but that's a way you can track where your engagement is coming from. Is it coming from JD Supra, email marketing? Is it coming from LinkedIn? Is it coming from certain places on LinkedIn? This is when you get more sophisticated with your marketing, how you can tell these things. The other thing is this webinar today, it's an hour. Well, it's not just a webinar. I'm going to take this webinar. I'm going to post it on my YouTube. I'm going to take that transcript. Like I said, click the 3 little dots because Chris told me to. Get the transcript. This is going to turn into a blog post, a long blog post.
Would you put it on my YouTube while you're at it, please?
Oh, yeah, I'll put it on yours too.
Okay.
of course. I am going to turn this into a long article, probably 3 blog posts. I'm going to splice up this video into about 6 or 8 segments of 3 minutes that will be short, succinct points, because nobody really wants to watch this hour-long webinar, except for maybe like Chris's wife and, I don't know, my dogs, okay? And I have about 9 pieces of content. You can strip out the audio, and guess what you have? Chris, what do you have?
I don't know, Stephanie, what do you have?
A
More
podcast.
content? More
A podcast.
distribution?
Yes, you have a podcast. Do you guys see how I've just turned this webinar into about 9 pieces of content? So that is what you do with it. Go back to your old content, and every slide is a social media post as well, right? Okay. The other thing I want y'all to do is think about what conferences you want to submit to. I posted a video last week about, so many people wonder, why do certain people always get to speak at conferences? Because they put themselves forward. It's not that they are better at what they do than certain lawyers. It's that they're putting it forward, or they're paying for them. So if you're paying for a sponsorship, ask for a speaking slot, okay? And then have a few programs that you have in the can already that are written up, and maybe change them. Look at the requirements for the different conferences. Track the conferences throughout the year and submit to them. Submit with a friend. Submit, if you're a lawyer, submit with a judge. Submit with maybe a U.S. attorney. Submit with an in-house counsel. They love in-house counsel, right? A client. You have a better shot at doing that. PLI also. There are a ton of faculty members who are on the faculty like for life. You want to speak at one of those, all you have to do, contact the faculty member. That's how you get on it, okay? And then decide which conferences you're going to attend for the rest of the year, or webinars. Write a takeaways piece. One of the best pieces of advice I could give you today is also yourself to be present on webinars and conferences instead of half being present, being on your phone, doing work. Today, I'm sure you could write a social media post or a blog about something you learned today. And then I would recommend, which is something I did early on in my LinkedIn career, is write a blog post or a social media post and tag me and Chris in the post. You could do this for anything you go to. And if it's like a legal marketing association program, tag the legal marketing association. They'll like the post. Then what happens is it'll show up in other people's feeds, because it'll just expand your network, right? No one dislikes a compliment ever. So you're also building your network. And this is, again, something I did incredibly early on. So I'll give you some homework today, which would be to write a post about today's program. I'm sure there's got to be, Chris, one thing that somebody learned as a result of today's program, right? So there are 15 things on this list for any size firm, but particularly for you guys. I'm going to keep going into this. And, just to expand upon what I said before, sometimes we just need to ask for things. Speaking engagements, research them, find a co-speaker, submit. If you missed the deadline, email the conference organizers and get on their radar for next year. Article writing opportunities. Law 360, other blogs, the New York Law Journal, other law journals, they take free submissions all the time. You don't need a PR person or PR agency. You can send them yourself. And
as a former journalist, I can tell you, they're always looking for, additional content.
Yeah.
You had to fill up a publication. Now you've got to fill up the internet. It's a big space.
Yeah. And you can write, this yourself. LinkedIn is a blog. I'm going to talk about this in a second. You want to write content, use LinkedIn Publisher, use LinkedIn. Think of it as a mini blog. No one needs to spend the money to create a blog, but if you have a blog, use it more effectively. Publish every blog post everywhere all the time. Volunteer roles, get involved in committees. So, if you're not writing for the committee publications, you're not taking advantage of your membership. If you're just a member and you're not going to events and all those things, getting involved in a committee, like I said, you're not taking advantage. And then just start writing on social media. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. So yes, you should get more involved on LinkedIn. Everyone knows that I feel this way. And yes, you can get business on LinkedIn. In fact, yes, hell yeah. Okay. A lot of my business has come through LinkedIn, and it works for lawyers as well. In fact, the notification section is probably the most effective place for getting new business on LinkedIn, because it gives you prompts for people. I never, Chris, believed that the birthdays was a good thing to fill in. But this year I wound up getting I put it in and I wound up getting 200 birthday, congratulate, it's your birthday, yay. And one of them turned into a new piece of business. So you never know. So put in your business, it doesn't ask you for your year, thank God. It just asks you for the day. So that's good.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Happy belated birthday, Stephanie.
No, you actually did wish me a happy birthday. Okay, but thanks. So just something else to keep in mind is whether you use LinkedIn every day, once a week, once a month, or once a year, it still has very high domain authority. It's either the number 1 or number 2 search result for you. So when lawyers say to you, I don't care about LinkedIn, I don't need to care about LinkedIn, you tell them this. And know that everybody's searching for you, whether you like it or not.
And a lot of times I have found that people don't either know, remember, they've changed jobs, may not have my email. I have to go every day because I have some sort of a communication or message from somebody at least once or twice a day on LinkedIn. So the more you use it, the more you'll find yourself going to it. I'm sure that's sort of their business model, but
yeah, absolutely. And please make sure you fill out the LinkedIn headline area and put your email address in the headline. LinkedIn makes it really hard to find someone's email address. Make it easy for them. Right up in the headline, put it there, put your phone number in the headline also. If you're in a service business, you want people to contact you. Okay, so the reason why professional service marketing is so easy to excel in is because the bar's so low, Chris. So content marketing, most blogs, most client alerts, most social posts for law firms, they're not good. They're boring. They're dry. They're very me-centric.
Bar is set firmly on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, right? I'm pleased to announce I'm honored to once again, for the 97th time, be named a super lawyer. It's just boring. So it's not hard to stand out. And the other thing I want to mention is every blog, every LinkedIn account, every single one of us has started out without any audience. Okay. And even those firms that have 20,000 followers, 100,000 followers, some of them I see, and they have 8 likes per post, and they're all the firms lawyers. Just because they have a lot of followers doesn't mean they're doing it right. The other thing I want you all to keep in mind is this isn't just with social. Everything. Every single thing you're putting out, every blog post, every page on your website, every social media post, people are looking at it. Clients, referrals, alumni, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, recruits, the media, who else, Chris? Vendors, friends, family, any and everybody are looking at things without commenting, liking, or anything. They're taking it in. That's why, again, if your website is terrible, behind the times, they're noticing. If your content is terrible, they're noticing. If you have no content, they're noticing. All of these
I'll tell you, you taught me something about this too. I always used LinkedIn, thought I used it well, connected with people I knew, people I met at conferences, clients, prospects. I had probably a couple thousand followers on LinkedIn and connections, and typically didn't connect with other people. And it's actually counterintuitive. I thought, kind of, as I think a lot of the lawyers think, this should be my professional network of people I know well. Well, and
Yeah, no.
but you actually want to connect with anybody who wants to connect with you, because if you want to be able to enhance your distribution and the people and the eyeballs and the friends that you're reaching, connect with more people, connect with people who are on your webinars,
Absolutely.
build
Connect
your
with
network.
people, yes. I mean, I have a whole program on LinkedIn, so I won't get into that now, but I 100% agree with you. You go to a conference, connect with people.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that the number of likes you have on social, everyone, should not be the be all end all, because most people don't feel the need to like anything publicly.
Yeah.
And there are 3 fundamental building blocks of LinkedIn. I'm not going to get into this today. A lot of you have come to my programs on LinkedIn. I offer them a lot. I'll do one in the fall, but it's your profile, your connections, and your participation. Please keep building this, and please keep going on this. If you're over 500, keep going. People ask me a lot about, should I turn on creator mode? There are a lot of things that go into that. The biggest consideration is, if you turn on creator mode, it turns your connect button to follow, but you can still connect with people, but there's a downside to it. But you can get access to LinkedIn tools like LinkedIn newsletter and LinkedIn creator mode. Come to one of my LinkedIn trainings and I'll get into that. I do want you all to think about LinkedIn as a mini blog, because each LinkedIn post gives you the ability to essentially write a blog. And LinkedIn is a place where you can keep all of those places. So it's like becoming a content hub. You don't necessarily need a blog anymore, although like I have a blog and many of us do. And Lex Blog is where I have my blog, and it's amazing. You can also publish articles on LinkedIn Publisher. But you absolutely have the ability now to keep them, on LinkedIn. But I want you to download your LinkedIn posts every quarter. You can't do it for your company pages, so you need to keep an editorial calendar. Everybody here who manages a LinkedIn company page, you need to keep an editorial calendar of your posts, okay? And
Stefanie, I want to say too, there's a really cool new tool that I've been sort of playing with called Passel. And some firms have found that one really useful. And it allows you, instead of having individual blogs, to bring all types of different content into your website and in little tiles. It's really sort of a nice look. And then you can redistribute it to LinkedIn from there. And you've got lawyers who are having challenges thinking what they should write. It's a really good tool for helping them figure out how to do sort of short form response content, and we're trying to figure out how it might be able to help, drive additional website traffic and keep all those posts on your site in addition to being on LinkedIn, which can be really powerful.
Absolutely. Also, for those of you who are wondering how to, why your LinkedIn company page isn't growing, a couple of things. You need your employees to share the content. That is key. Okay. Also, you get 250 LinkedIn invite requests per month. Make sure you use them. And if you really want to do this right, give access like for a minute over Zoom, where you monitor it, to your key lawyers, so you can have them add their connections to LinkedIn. Okay, but then take it away. But if you want to attend one of my LinkedIn courses, you absolutely can. And in terms of like making somebody a social media master, these are some of the things you can think about. But, promote successes of others. I love evergreen content. This is also, by the way, how you get all of your past LinkedIn posts. And this is how you start to build a content calendar for an individual. You can't do it for a LinkedIn company page, but it's coming. You go to the settings and privacy section, get a copy of your data, download your shares, and that's where every single post you've ever done since the dawn of time would be. You can also download your connections, but it won't put contact info of every person, like their email addresses, but it will give you all of your connections. And just think about these things. I'm not going to go through this because this isn't a LinkedIn course, but just, when to post, structuring your posts, have white space, be consistent, but it doesn't mean every day. The more people in your network, the more people will see your content. So it is quality over quantity, but you want more people. Storytelling works. You can even tell stories as a company page. LinkedIn newsletters, really work. I've only seen one firm do a LinkedIn newsletter and I didn't think it was good. I'm doing LinkedIn newsletters for my clients. I had 4,000 subscribers, to my LinkedIn newsletter. Within the first few minutes, I did it. And I'm telling you, it works because it goes to the notification section. It is powerful. Engage with other people and create content pillars for your firm and for yourself. Okay. Oh, promote content in LinkedIn groups. Get to know the right groups for your lawyers. And here are some things I'd recommend to do on social media in terms of creating content when you don't have a lot of content to create for my small and mid-sized law firm friends. So my favorite tip is to create an ongoing spotlight series on offices, practices, and industries and people. So this is like, get to know Stefanie Marrone. She's a lawyer in our transportation practice. And it would link back to my bio, include my headshot, and put the first 3 lines of my bio. Done. Build a calendar of those strategically based on, practices, and have a good mix of women and men and diversity and all of those things. Build in the same thing with your practices and industries. This is how you also show love to some of those lawyers and practices that aren't getting in the press. And I had real success one time with a client who commented on one of the posts saying, "Oh, Stefanie is the best lawyer that we've ever worked with. She is so client-centric, blah, blah, blah." And it's just another way to stay top of mind. It is a great thing to do. So intersperse these into the me-centric content that you have, victories and award wins, and maybe you have like a breast cancer month, whatever it is, and client alerts and all those things. Okay. So these are.
All right. Stefanie, I love the shark. You have to talk about the shark.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that falls into hashtag holiday posts. So there are days throughout the month and weeks and those sorts of things. So August, it's Black Business Month. It's also National Prosecco Month, Spoil Your Dog Day. And last month was Shark Week, many of you know. And so I created a number of posts for my clients that were about take a bite out of CRM, take a bite out of employment law, or just some, lawyers sometimes are called sharks. So it was a big shark. And then, the logo coming out, have fun with it. Yesterday was National Book Lovers Day. So one of my clients has a book club. So we did a post about that. So there are days essentially for every month. There's a day for everything. National Left-Handers Day is coming up. It's ridiculous. National I Love Cats Day. Figure out what it is. Case studies, matter successes, Q&As. When laterals join, look at Lowenstein Sandler. They do a great job of Q&As with laterals. Summer associate roundups. I just did a whole bunch of summer associate roundups with what'd you love about summering at X firm? Why did you choose this firm? You have content for days. Put it on your website. Spotlights on not just lawyers, spotlights on key employees. You put this on your recruiting pages. Quick tips. Okay, another thing I've been doing with client alerts, take out the first paragraph or the last paragraph. Why is this alert important? And put that as a quote. And that is another social post. And then I love the ICYMI, FBF, or TBT posts. So in case you missed it, that's what ICYMI is. It gives you the ability to post something again. FBF is a Flashback Friday, or TBT, Throwback Thursday. So you've got endless content, right? You can post a firm history. Even if you've been around 5 years, you have firm history.
And if you have content that you may have posted, I don't know, years ago, some of it is still valid. You can read through it, make sure it's all still relevant, update anything you need, and post it again. You haven't posted it in years, and it's still, if it's coming from your lawyers, it's probably still, really good information.
Yeah. And just the same thing. So webinars, turn a webinar into a 3-4 minute segment. I know there was a question about video content. Video content does 5 times better than a static post. Post the video. You know how I do the video for cheap? I do a screen recording of the video on my phone. I post it to YouTube, even if I don't want it to be, so I think that question was from Rebecca. So if I don't want the video to be public, I'll do it private. I'll do a screen recording from my phone. I'll literally cut it on my phone I have an iPhone. And then I'll have a segment. I'll use a caption software. I use CapCut or Mixed Captions, and always put captions on your videos. And I have a video. Does that make sense? It literally costs nothing to do, and I don't need a fancy video software. I'm going to skip this because I know we're out of time, but I want to talk about alumni for a few minutes. Chris and I both want to do this. Every law firm has alumni, even your law firm. Alumni relations programs are so important. I was hired 20 years ago to start the alumni relations program at Paul Weiss. It was the best thing I ever worked on, and I've done it at a number of other firms, and I'm doing it now at small firms. It helps with recruiting, business development, and branding. If you have 5 alumni and they've gone on to become a GC or a judge or even gone to another firm, they can still be referral sources or recruiting sources. But you need good, clean data. So you need to make sure that you stay in touch with them. And as your firm continues to grow, you're going to need to stay in touch with them. These are all things, I'm not going to go through them. I can send this to you guys, but all things you can do to continue to maintain relationships with alumni. Some of these are for bigger firms, but I know we have firms of various sizes here. They really want connection points. They don't necessarily care about everything going on with the firm. They do, but they want stuff from you. They want information. They want education, networking, all of those kinds of things. Don't lose touch with them, okay? And
it's really important to track that data. So remember, half your data is degrading each year. So keep up with those alumni. We have a lot of firms that we run those lists regularly through the automated process to make sure if there's people that are going to bounce, and then we go research them so that when you're actually trying to get in touch with your alumni, you can. So you need to regularly go through that data because it is degrading. And then in your CRM, you want to tag them with information that lets you then target and segment even better. You know, where are they now? What position are they in? What are their former positions? What are their former employment? Where were they previously employed? When were they hired? When did they leave? What practice were they in? You know, so that you can leverage those relationships and then put them on lists so that you can communicate with them. And then some firms, there are a couple of firms we work with that even have a status field because there are certain alumni that they don't invite to events, I guess. And so they have to tag those as well. But you definitely want to tag them and categorize and segment so you can communicate effectively and leverage those relationships.
yeah, and be inclusive, more inclusive. You don't have to spend a lot of money on software. You can build a LinkedIn group. You can use email marketing. It's not expensive to do this, but alumni relations is important. Okay, so we're going to wrap up.
So what are the goal is just to get a couple nuggets. Again, I think there were, Stefanie, by yourself, you probably had 1,000 nuggets that people could take from this. I will say, if you're interested in anything legal marketing technology, feel free to go to crmsuccess.net and sign up. And we will be on that. You'll be on our e-newsletter for CRM success tips. Just leverage some of the things that we talked about here. It's some great content. Reach out to us anytime. Stefanie, you want to turn to the next slide? The one after that one? There we go. So Stefanie taught me this one. I love these QR codes. If you haven't seen them before, teach your attorneys how to put them on their presentations. If you point your camera at either of these, you can connect with us instantaneously and follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll connect with you. And we've also got some good stuff that we're going to share, like we always do. Stefanie, you want to go forward one slide or backwards one slide?
Yeah.
That one. Yep. So if you're looking to move CRM systems or changing or buying software, I typically do, I have a reference checking checklist that is terrific, so that you ask the right questions and make sure you have all the right answers to make a good decision. We'll also be happy if you have an alumni list. We will run a free alumni list of up to 100 contacts. And Stefanie, you've got some stuff too.
Yeah, I've got an alumni I've got an alumni strategic plan that I can send to you guys. It's going to be different for a bigger firm. So this is for smaller firms specifically, but you can adapt it. I'm happy to send that to you. And I've got some LinkedIn resources, of course. If you want to know more about how I did that bio series and the practice group series, I'll send you a couple examples as well. Just message me what you specifically want.
We've got a couple minutes. You want to throw it up for some questions?
Yeah, I can stop sharing and then let me know. I don't see any other. There was one question we had about, is there an upgrade to, is there a benefit to upgrading to LinkedIn Premium? Honestly, you probably really don't need it unless you're going to be doing a lot of recruiting or business development related to like wanting to message people. But I would say for the most part, most things are available to you. If you use the People Also View tool and some other tools, like you may want it, but I would think for the most part, you're good without it. It's gotten so expensive. You may want to try Navigator instead, because Navigator can give you some other tools with the searches and with other things that are really custom. So I might go Navigator over Premium. I'm grandfathered.
Even more expensive though, I think.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of different kinds. It just depends. I don't know specifically, Sharon, what you're looking for. So it just depends. So I think I answered the video. I know that LinkedIn, just FYI, LinkedIn is giving preference to accounts that are the creator accounts, like, so those accounts that are switching over. So at some point, I think everyone's going to need to switch their accounts over to creator mode. And I do have a webinar on creator mode. I can send you guys the link. It's a free link. I think it could be also on my YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. So I think.
So what do we think? Are we going to have a fourth in the series, Stefanie?
I don't know. Well, if you guys want a fourth in the series, either let us know, put it in the chat. Let us know after. It's a good way to wrap up the summer. This is the only webinar I'm doing for the rest of the summer, and I'm on remote August for the rest of August. So
feel free to type in the chat any topics you're still interested in that we might not have covered, and maybe we'll be back for another return of the trilogy.
Return of the Jedi, return of Chris and Steph. So thank you all for joining us, and happy rest of summer. Thanks, guys. Oh, please.
Will you put the QR codes up again, Stefanie? Share.
Yeah, hang on.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great afternoon. Oh, CRM for mid-sized firms and LinkedIn strategies. That's right up our alley, Juliana.
I love it.
You got it. Coming right to you. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.